So, a review for the Disney Plus 30-day challenge. I'm really excited. Beauty and the Beast, 1991. My favorite Disney film of all time. It is so good. I mean, the new one in 2017 was great. It was beautiful. I loved it. So good. And I loved the new song they threw in there. Do wish that they put in some of the songs to musical. Doesn't matter. The original 1991 version is amazing. Came out the year after I was born. So literally grew up with it my entire life. And I can't tell you how wonderful this movie is. So it starts out so well. There's just like powerhouse song in the beginning. Lets you know that everyone in that town is awful except for her. Or she's awful and everyone else is normal. Who knows? She's a peculiar girl. It's cool. So she's the daughter of a kind of a crazy guy. He's an inventor. He's a dreamer. At least the town thinks he's crazy. Set in France. He's just a big dreamer. Single dad trying to take care of his daughter. They never in that movie explain why he's a single dad. They don't explain what happened to the mother, where she is. It doesn't matter to the story. Basically, Gaston comes in, all tough and stuff. Big deal of a guy. And he's the most arrogant sack of crap you've ever seen in your entire life. But he is totally infatuated with Belle. He thinks he's in love with her. I don't think he's really can be in love with anybody but himself, but that's just me. So she realizes this is not the life I want. I don't want to marry some dude that just loves himself and be in this town where everybody just stays the same. Nothing happens. It's all boring. And then suddenly her dad goes missing and she needs to go find him because, you know, the horse, Philippe, comes after her. So she gets to this castle where it's just locked in this fantasy world of terror and gloom. And it's awful in this corner of the forest. So the beast is cursed. She doesn't know this. She just knows there's some terrible person that has her father locked up. But she makes the ultimate sacrifice, gives her life for his, saves him. It's wonderful. Except now she's a prisoner with a terrible person who is the embodiment of all of his flaws. She doesn't know what to do. So she starts being treated hospitably by apparently an enchanted castle with magical appliances. Anyway, I don't need to describe the synopsis. That's not the point of this. The point is, it is a great movie. The soundtrack is off the charts. I can't believe they convinced Angela Lansbury to play Mrs. Potts because she's so hard to get. She's so Broadway that the fact they got her to do a voice of anything in an animated film is just wild to me. There's such intensity in all the action scenes. And actually, not to knock the live action version of it. The wolf scene didn't compel me as much as the cartoon version did. It was way more terrifying. The shots were way more compelling. You could feel how screwed the beast was. It's crazy. But, you know, she gets Stockholm Syndrome, essentially, and starts having feelings for the beast, even though he's her captor. And is also a terrible person, but hey, he's interesting and not totally, well, he's into himself, but not in the same way Gaston is. I honestly don't know why she starts falling in love with the beast, to be honest. But it doesn't matter, because it's an old story, and this is before people even knew what Stockholm Syndrome was. So, not in the 90s, but like when Beauty and the Beast was originally written as a story in France. That fight scene between the beast and Gaston at the end, just... let me go, please, I'll do anything. And he's like, just, so good. He goes, like, get out. And then Gaston betrays him and stabs him in the back. And you're like, how could he do this? He's such a jerk. And he gets knocked off the castle. And it's so dramatic. And you're like, yeah, we're kids, but we're cheering for the fact that the good guy killed the bad guy. Woo! It's awesome. So good on so many levels. I mean, this wasn't much of a review. It was more of a synopsis, I guess. But as a review, I have to say, incredible storytelling. So critically thought out. I mean, this was at a time right after Disney was pretty much broke and they were trying to make a comeback from the 70s and 80s. And they totally did that. They just knocked it out of the park time and time again by taking these classic stories that made them famous to begin with. I mean, Cinderella, Pinocchio, you know, you had Sleeping Beauty. You had all these wonderful stories, Snow White, that were classic stories from Europe, classic fairy tales, classic Grimm fairy tales, but they forgot that, I think, for a while. They lost that as a part of their origin, and then they brought it back with Beauty and the Beast. It was one of the first that really just went, hey, look, we still make great movies. Don't count us out. The 70s and 80s got a little weird, even though you got great movies like The Great Mouse Detective and rescuers and all that stuff that are just so good. They had a rough patch for a while, and they came back, and Beauty and the Beast was just that, like, hey, look at us, we're so great. And this story is still relevant today, even though it was written a couple hundred years ago. It's still relevant today, because it doesn't matter who you are on the outside, it matters who you are inside. Gaston is the embodiment of everything beautiful outside, and the Beast is the embodiment of everything hateful, and he personifies that. He's enchanted to become the ugliness that he is inside. And if we were to see the ugliness of Gaston, he probably would have been way worse than the Beast, who knows. But the Beast is so compelling as a character. And Belle, oh man, her story arc, the changes she goes through, to just being this girl with a provincial life, to a powerhouse character that's willing to do anything. And in fact, well, you know, it's not, because Belle's character development isn't as stark as the Beast, because she starts out as someone who's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for her father, and she does. And by the end, she's someone who's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for those she loves, and she does. She's willing to. And the Beast, though, he goes from being this monster, literally, to becoming who he was all along, that he'd forgotten. He'd forgotten who he was, and that's the point of the story. He'd forgotten who he was, and he was able to rediscover that and discover, no, I'm not a beast. I'm not this thing. I made a mistake in the past, but that doesn't matter, because who I am now is what matters, and love set him free. And that's beautiful. I mean, it's the reason that the reason Les Miserables is such a compelling story. It's about redemption. Same with Beauty and the Beast. It's about redemption of the Beast, and his transformation isn't just literal, like at the end of the movie. His transformation is on an emotional and spiritual level. It's fascinating. Anyway, great movie, great soundtrack, turned into a great musical as well. Made a live action 2017 version that was also amazing. Man, you know what? My life is so busy that I haven't been able to watch as many Disney films as of late as I would have liked, and so I think this 30-day challenge is, I'm so excited about it. I would love to do it. I'd love to. I think even if I don't get picked, I'm just going to do it for 30 days anyway. Just watch 30 Disney films or shows or whatever every day. Well, one a day for 30 days, because they have shaped who I am. And I think they've shaped so many people in my generation to who they are. And that's really, you know, where the magic is. When you wish upon a star. So much of what we want to achieve in our lives that desire came from watching these movies as children and as adults. And they still inspire me. Some of the new, like, superhero movies have been some of the most inspiring films to me. And they're supposed to be action films. They're action superhero films. They're not intended to be real, and yet they feel true to life in so many ways about the human connections and the feelings and the way Tony Stark, like his redemption story, how he changed so much from just being this absolute jerk. Like, there's so many parallels there that, I mean, Tony Stark is probably the Beast of the Marvel industry as far as character change. So many interesting parallels to draw, but I would love to do this. So this review, as choppy as it is, I hope it's enough to earn me a spot to be one of the 5 that get to do this wonderful project for 30 days. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll just keep watching Disney. Take care.